Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. It looks like Charles Martin will be facing Gerald Washington on the pay-per-view undercard of the Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury rematch on February the 22nd. So Mike Coppinger of The Athletic is reporting Charles Martin will fight Gerald Washington in an IBF heavyweight eliminator Feb 22 on the Wilder Fury 2 pay-per-view undercard. That's PBC 1 fight on the undercard. Top Rank has Emmanuel Navarrete defending his 122-pound title versus Heo Tupas Santacima in their slot. And just for clarity, so there's going to be 3 fights on this pay-per-view event. PBC get to have one slot, Top Rank the other. So this looks like Gerald Washington, Charles Martin is the PBC slot. Perhaps it wasn't their first choice, but it is the one it looks like they're going with. And in the context of the heavyweight division, this is a relatively evenly matched heavyweight fight between Washington and Martin. I'll come to that in a little bit, but you could maybe ask the question of this fight, does it deserve to be on the Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder rematch pay-per-view section of this event? Because certainly in the prelims you can make a good case for it, but does this deserve, because it probably will be the lead-off fight, and then you'll have Navarrete defending his title likely as the co-main event. It just maybe lacks a little bit of pizzazz, but I'm sure it will be sold as Gerald Washington, a former title challenger against Deontay Wilder, looked good in there before he got knocked out, and Charles Martin, a former IBF champ. And this is actually going to be an IBF eliminator according to Mike Coppinger. So that explains a lot with Charles Martin's recent ranking in the IBF. As I reported just a number of days ago, he comes in at number 11 in the rankings, out of nowhere, because remember, his last fight was in July 2019. That was in a card in Minnesota. He faced Daniel Martz. Didn't look that great, looked a little bit rusty for a few rounds before getting the job done. And actually, Gerald Washington was on that same card, so he fought Robert Helenius there. A seesaw battle, Washington probably actually down on the cards before knocking out Robert Helenius. Good come from behind victory, starches him in about 7 or 8 rounds. It was a very, very good knockout. Robert Helenius was in all sorts of trouble. But I must say, there is an irony here with the IBF eliminator status being on the line here, because the next highest guy after Kubrat Pulev is Adam Kovnarski, who has beaten Gerald Washington and also Charles Martin in the past couple of years. So what we may end up seeing is this being an IBF eliminator, and remember, he's not saying final eliminator, and because Gerald Washington is at 8, Charles Martin is at 11, they're probably too far down the pecking order for it to be a final eliminator. But the irony could be, one of these guys, whoever wins it, could go into a final eliminator with Adam Kovnarski, who's already beaten both. I could totally see that happening. But of this fight in general, it is relatively evenly matched, and picking a winner here is not just as easy as saying, you know, Washington's going to knock him out, or vice versa. I think this is good matchmaking because it is going to be competitive. I think Washington, 6'6", good jab, he'll come out sort of moving, pumping the jab, looking for the right hand. Charles Martin is a decently skilled southpaw. He's probably going to, you know, want this to be maybe a bit in close, work some of his power punches to the body. He could actually probably withstand some of what Gerald Washington is bringing. And I could see this one sort of being a bit seesaw, both having spots of success. It could somewhat mirror the Gerald Washington and Robert Helenius fight, which was, for all intents and purposes, a very fun fight to watch, back and forth action. And we did see, actually, in the Kovnarski fight, Charles Martin was able to rally late, steal a lot of the later rounds, but he started too slow, wasn't able to sort of get back in that fight, lost the decision to Kovnarski. So he is durable to some extent, and if he can, for the most part, avoid too many Washington right hands, and if he's able to pressure Washington, perhaps Washington will fold, because against Adam Kovnarski, Washington just, you know, in a couple of rounds was taken out and KO'd by Kovnarski. But Washington is there to be hit. Not a lot of head movement, but so too for Charles Martin. But I do like this fight. I mean, I'm a little on the fence about whether it should be on the pay-per-view section of the card, which it's going to be, but In terms of the heavyweight division, both of these guys are sort of outside of the world top 15. They want to get back in the conversation for a title shot. They want to work their way up rankings and be factors in the division. Martin wants to sort of redeem himself, have another crack at a heavyweight title, and seemingly it would be in the IBF. And Washington, after his lone title shot in 2017, he wants to work his way back up. And now, after a good win over Helenius, if he gets a win over Charles Martin, he gets himself back in the conversation. So, for a number of reasons, I like the fight. It's evenly matched, and it's hard to pick a winner. And I could see this being a very good fight. It could be quite a bruising and tough encounter. And maybe this is the sort of matchmaking that is going to have a good slot for PBC on that rematch card. Maybe it doesn't have the sizzle of some other fights that could have been there, but I guess it is what it is. But what do you make of it? Gerald Washington, Charles Martin, February the 22nd on the Wilder Fury undercard. Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.